Good morning, students. Once again, welcome you all in this English class. Students, today we will do 6th lesson of your first flight book, that is The 100 Dresses Part 2 by L. Bosser Easter. First part already we have done in previous video. So students, first I will give you a little introduction of the lesson. In continuation of the previous lesson, The 100 Dresses Part 2 reveals why Wanda Petronsky had not been coming to school. The Petronsky family decided to move to a big city where no one would care about their unfamiliar name. On hearing the note, Maddie and Peggy got worried as they realized that they would never get a chance for making amends for all the teasing they had done. Both the girls get relieved only on learning that Wanda liked them and had dedicated one of the 100 dresses drawings to each of them. So students, I am going to start with a short explanation of the lesson. Listen it carefully. Everyone was having a look at the amazing drawings Wanda had drawn and admiring it when the monitor of the class brought a piece of note for Miss Mason. Miss Mason read the note multiple times as she could not believe what was written in it. Finally, she decided to gather the class to read it loud and clear. It was a letter from Wanda Petronsky's dad. She silenced for a while, which created tension in the minds of her students. She adjusted her spectacles, which made it clear how important that note is. She began reading it, and everyone listened carefully. The letter began with a salutation to Miss Mason. Wanda's father conveyed his intention of not sending both of his children, Wanda and Jack, to school anymore. He mentioned that they were shifting to another city, a big one, where no one would care enough about their strange name. A big city with a lot of people having weird names. Wanda's classmates thought her name was weird and funny. Wanda was a Polish immigrant to America and thus had an unfamiliar name. After hearing what was there in that letter, everyone was left speechless. Miss Mason, too, was stern, and thus she cleaned her glasses, wore them again, and spoke to the class in a low voice. She conveyed her disappointment to the class and asked them to ensure her that nothing was done purposefully to hurt Wanda. She gave the children benefit of doubt that everything they did was done unintentionally. She said whatever happened was sad and unfortunate. She advised the students to introspect about it too. Everyone began thinking about what was written in that letter and how each one of them made Wanda feel. In their first period, Maddie could not concentrate on her studies as she felt sick for not stopping Peggy at the right time. Had she stopped Peggy from playing that dress game with Wanda, things could have been different. Although Maddie never teased Wanda, but nor did she stop Peggy from doing it, which makes her just as bad, or maybe worse. Peggy's intentions were never to hurt Wanda, and she was not aware that her game hurt her feelings. Maddie, on the other hand, was aware of its impact. Yet she stood silent, which made her a coward for not standing against what's wrong. Filled with guilt and regret, Maddie wished for a chance to apologize to Vanda, hoping Peggy would be thinking about Vanda too. She takes a look at Peg, but she was busy studying. Regardless of what Peggy was thinking, Maddie decided to take some action. She hoped Vanda had not yet moved away and she could tell her how sorry she was and appreciate her 100 dresses. That day, after the school had ended, Peggy asked Maddie if they could go and check if Vanda has moved or not. Maddie was satisfied at the thought that they both had same plans of apologizing to Vanda. Both of them hurried to Boggins Heights, the place where Vanda lives, in order to find her during the season. The place was generally wet and the atmosphere was sad and hopeless. Peggy tries to comfort herself by murmuring that at least she did not call her a foreigner because she was an immigrant. Neither did she make her feel different for having an unfamiliar name. She was always in this diffusion that Vanda had no idea that those girls were making fun of her. Above all, Vanda is such a great artist too. Maddie, on the other hand, could not say a word. What she hoped for is a chance to confess, make amends, appreciate her, and try to stop her from moving away. In fact, she even thought of conveying her idea to protect Vanda if anyone tried to trouble her in any way in order to reach the place before night. They hurried. They saw a white little house up there which they thought was the place where Vanda Petronsky lived. The house and its surroundings were shabby but clean, just like Vanda's worn out blue dress. Thin bushes of grass grew along the path that led to the house. They resembled thin kittens. No one could be seen around the house. They knocked both at the front and backyard doors. But to their disappointment, there was no answer. Now, the Petronskis had gone, and along with them, Maddie and Peggy's last chance to make amends too. In order to comfort herself, Peggy started saying that Vanda must have looked for drawing inspiration only after she started her dresses game. And had not she done that, Vanda would have never won the drawing competition. Maddie also tried to convince her after what Peggy said, and that if that is the case, she does not have to feel so bad. But later that night, she could not sleep as she was thinking constantly about Vanda's little house, her faded blue dress, both shabby but clean, and her glorious 100 dresses that were all lined up in the classroom instead of the closet. Finally, she sat in her bed and started thinking deeply. The hard sets she had ever done. She pressed her forehead tight in her hands, which indicated that she was really trying to concentrate. After thinking so much and so deeply, she came to a conclusion that she will always stand against the wrongs and will never say nothing when she has to. She decided that she had never let anyone make fun of others because of their appearance, name, clothes, or where they come from. She would not shy to speak up against Peggy, even if it meant losing her friendship. She could not go in the past to make amends with Vanda no matter how much she wanted to, but from now on, she is never going to let another person feel embarrassed or unhappy again. On Saturday, both of them sat together and decided to write a letter to Vanda, telling her about the contest, asking her where she is living now and how that place is. No matter how much they wanted to apologize, they could not summon the courage to do so, and thus ended up writing a friendly letter as if Vanda was their good friend. They mailed it to Boggin's Height with please forward written on it because they did not know her new address. There was no reply from Vanda, but they did not also receive the letter back. Thus, they concluded that it must have reached Vanda, but she was so upset that she did not answer. They waited for weeks, but still no answer. Peggy began to forget about this whole thing, while Maddie used to make scenarios in her head before sleeping, where she defended Vanda. She thought of scenario where large groups of girls surrounded Vanda and would ask her, how many dresses have you got? And as soon as anyone could say more, Vanda would interrupt and say, stop, so that all of them could end up ashamed. It was winter season, and there was snow everywhere on the ground. Christmas had come. They decorated their classrooms with bells and a small tree. That day, Miss Messin told the students that she had received a letter from Vanda Petronsky. She is very happy to receive it because now she can send her the medal too. The letter began in a very friendly tone. Vanda asked how everyone was and that they could keep her 100 dresses because in her new house she has another lot of 100 dresses lined up in her closet. She specifically mentioned the dress she wanted Maddie and Peggy to take home. The green dress with red trimmings was for Peggy, and while the blue one was for Maddie. She expressed her affection towards Miss Messin and wrote her, new teacher could never replace Miss Messin. She winded up the letter by wishing everyone Merry Christmas and also wrote that she missed everyone in room number 13. It was Christmas season and all the houses were decorated. Grocery stores were stocked with Christmas trees, candy, peppermint sticks, and other Christmas stuff. The atmosphere was colorful and joyful. Maddie and Peggy took home the drawings very carefully. When Peggy realized that this gesture implied that Vanda liked them, they also assumed that she got their letter. And everything was peaceful between them. Maddie, on the other hand, was quite sad because she would never be able to see that polished, tight-lipped girl again. She had never get a chance to make amends. As soon as Maddie reached home, she displayed her drawing on the part of her wall from where her pink flowered wallpaper was slightly torn. Maddie's room was shabby too, but the drawing made it lively. She started at the drawing constantly and thought how nice Vanda had been to them. While staring at the drawing Vanda had given her, Maddie's vision got blurred from tears. She rubbed her eyes and noticed that Vanda had actually drawn Maddie's face along with the dress. The colors of the dress were so bright and vibrant that the face was hardly visible. Maddie got excited, and ran towards Peggy to check if she had noticed it too. As soon as she reached Peggy's house, she asked her for the picture. The drawing was lying upside down on the bed. Maddie raised it, and yes, it was Peggy in the drawing. Both were left in shock and awe at the same time. Peggy exclaims that she was right about the thought that Wanda liked them. Maddie, whose eyes get filled with tears every time she recalled that scene where Wanda would look at the girls laughing at her, also agreed with Peggy. So now students, we have completed the lesson. Listen it carefully, and we are going to meet in the live class on Saturday. God bless you. Do the work which I have given.